Yeah, I should have probably shaved before this. That's all good. So I'm back. I've been a little MIA. Nothing new there. Trying the front camera out. We'll see if I like it. So far, I think I do. Um, right off the rip, we have a couple of new things to go over. I have notes again, this time printed, so I don't have to worry about fumbling over myself. um, short and sweet. We're still talking about the Epstein stuff. That's not a trend. And I think that's the problem that's most annoying for me. Is I think it is really trendy for you guys. there's a war going on in Iran, and now everybody is immediately off the topic, which sucks. As always, I've got a coffee, decaf because it's evening. It's like 8 o'clock. We're in the middle of putting Kenzie, or not Kenzie, down. We're in the middle of putting Millie Joe down for bed. Kenzie's upstairs taking care of that. Trying to bang out a quick episode for the Turning the Pages podcast. But man, I'm pissed. That's the topic tonight. I'm pissed off. A lot of you guys haven't been saying anything, doing anything, or if you are, it's about the weirdest things that don't have to do with protecting kids. And I don't know, maybe I'm just the only one that's crazy about that, but I'm getting pretty annoyed. We have a lot of notes, a lot of things to talk about. This is just kind of opening monologue, but as always, I've got my coffee. Oh, I forgot my ashtray, but I got a cigar. Always do. Let me go get the ashtray. That might have sounded terrible if you could hear the door. I don't know. You might. You might. And that's fine. But yeah, dude, sorry for the long hiatus. It was like another 3 weeks there. I'm sure you guys were wondering where the heck I was. Found out some pretty obscure people were actually wondering where my podcast was. Like one of my wife's friends that I don't even talk to, don't even know who they are. They reached out to Kenzie. I forgot if it was a guy or a girl. I won't even lie. I think it was a girl. I won't even lie. But anyways, I think it was a lady. And anyways, she was wondering where the podcast was or how it was doing. So that was interesting. Yeah. I didn't think that anybody watches this, and nobody does. Let's just keep it very objective and honest, right? I'm just a guy rambling in my basement, but it was still nice. It was still nice to hear that. And I forgot my inhaler inside today, so we're gonna have to wing that a little bit. But yeah, there was a few people that had asked where I went, and dude, I won't go on my own episode of that on its own right there saying where I was, because it really wasn't that long-winded. I just have the tendency to do that. But dude, every time I was getting ready to sit down and film something crazy happened. So I wanted to see how it would develop instead of giving too quick of an opinion. I think everybody gives too quick of an opinion on things, myself included. I think with the rise of social media, everybody like, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on that? If it's still developing, I don't know yet. You know, like when people are asking what I think about the Iran situation, it's like, well, the literal dust has not settled yet on a lot of it, and still hasn't. And I'm trying to go through all that. So, yeah. Without further ado, I guess we'll kind of go into that. And I don't need my glasses today because I've noticed that, dude, that just, you can't see my face at all. Not that you need to, but having the ring right around my eyes is kind of funny. So I'll fix that eventually. Obviously, I'm just a man who's getting 20 views here I'm not trying to invest a whole lot of money in that right now. But before we go into this, I will share with you guys, I officially own an LLC, which is pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm going to be opening a business for green cleaning company or a green. I can't even say what it is. Wow, that's hilarious. That's going to be on a blooper reel for sure. I'm opening a green cleaning product company. Goodness. And if it's successful enough, I want to open up a service-based industry too, where we do mold remediation. So that's the long-term vision. Short-term vision is I'll be making my own products of things that are safe and clean, and things to use around your kids. You don't have to worry about bleach and was it chlorine, Clorox, right? You don't have to worry about those things about your kids as much. And I know there's actually a lot of those products that already exist right now, but a lot of them are either gimmicky or they're overpriced. And I seek to kind of be in the middle of both of those. I don't want to be a gimmick, obviously, but I don't want to overcharge either. So we're still working that out. My wife and I are working on logos. I've got a name. It's going to be called Spore Busters, which will be fun. I'm working on a prototype and a website and a Shopify and my own formula. I might not be able to use my own formula just because I'm a little schmo, but I'm already working with product manufacturers to see about getting it launched. Just be short and sweet. I'll have an all-purpose cleaner like kitchens, countertops, things like that. And then I'll have a shoe cleaner, which will be really, really fun, I think, because there's a budding market for people that love shoes, love sneakers. Even people who don't still particularly care to maintain their shoes. Like when women buy a nice pair of heels or guys buy a nice pair of sneakers, they typically want to maintain it for as long as they can. Nothing really controversial about that. But yeah, so that's the short and sweet of it. I have an LLC, so I technically am a business owner, but that doesn't mean anything. I need to get an Amazon and a Shopify account, a couple of other things, but I wanted to get product in hand before I start buying the website. And product manufacturers are sketchy. I won't even lie to you. They're sketchy. Like they're just hard to get a hold of. If they do answer you, they're dodgy. I think it's a good word is dodgy. Like I'm waiting on 3 days now, and I know it's Sunday night, so it's 4 days now, and I know it's Sunday night, so there's 2 days right there. But it's still like, goodness gracious. Maybe I should have sent this message out to a dozen suppliers instead of one. But I'm a dad and a full-time worker and a couple of other things, and it's hard to juggle all of these things. And I'm trying to do a podcast, and my wife's upstairs, and she's probably even mad at me right now. Not literally, but she's putting the kiddo down, and I'm talking to myself, for lack of better phrasing. But yeah, if this thing goes well, and I actually really think it will, who knows? My goal, guys, I mean, short and sweet, I want to put my wife out of work. I really do. I want my kid to be able to be homeschooled. We have a classroom. I could literally show you guys pictures. It's actually really beautiful. We have a classroom that we've designed for my daughter. I painted one of the walls with chalkboard paint, so she has a chalkboard. Technically a blackboard, chalkboard. Anyways, we've gone above and beyond. Anybody that knows me will say that my daughter is very smart, very intelligent. And that's not indicative of me. It's indicative of her, But I take that seriously, and I take pride in that. But I want to have a business that I can run, and maybe even put me out of work, and where I'm running that business full time. Because working in the insurance industry is tough. It's very tough. A lot of people think it's like no big deal, but every day faces burnout. I won't even lie. You don't get paid enough, and you constantly get people's negativity because, of course, you're the bad guy, right? So that's tough, especially if you're someone like me that's empathetic and you tend to feel the emotions in the room, which is normal. And there's nothing really like out of place there. A lot of people feel everybody's emotions, but it's just a hard industry to be in. So I would like to leave that industry eventually. 5 years, 10 years, I don't know, however long it takes me to get this business off the ground. I'm not unrealistic, and I don't expect it's going to be something that happens overnight. But I'll show you some things that are going on in the meantime. I'll show you some of the logos that I'm working on, and maybe even a couple of screenshots of the website and things like that. Just so that way you kind of know how it's looking. Because right now it's really just a TikTok. I haven't even made a video for the TikTok yet, so don't get on me too much about that. But um, I think that you guys would like it. So if you see this, give it a follow. If you have kids and you want a product that you're not constantly looking over your shoulder, having to read things with fine print, and wonder if it's safe around your kids, give me a follow. I'm working on that exact solution right now. I have a 1.5-year-old upstairs. It's a dad-owned company, you know. I'm very passionate about that kind of thing. I wouldn't only die for my kids, I'd die for your kids. So I'm going to be putting that into my product too. Pure and simple. Hold on, I'm just writing something down. And I'll be doing that throughout this episode because, hey, I'm a one-man band. And I'll be editing some of this so that way I could show, obviously, what I'm doing and whatnot. I haven't even sparked a cigar, boys. This is crazy. We're 11 and a half minutes in. Let me know if you like the frontal cam. Personally, I like it because I'm able to self-check a little bit better. And yeah, I can see the time. I can see all sorts of stuff. I got some good news, bad news. I'm really worried, actually. My humidor got up to 80% humidity, which I don't like at all. As you guys probably know, anybody who smokes cigars in here, they really only want to be like 65 to 75% humidity. I haven't smoked a cigar since the last video I made, which we're coming up on a month now. So these things were just sitting there for about a month, super humid. Thankfully, nothing crazy happened to them, but they're tender. They're a little tender. Might even say she's toy like a toiga. I hate to be controversial. I know it's Sunday night, but yeah, toy like a toiga. So, yeah, like I was saying earlier, every time I wanted to film this episode, dude, something would happen, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to sit back and see how that develops, see how that translates, because, dude, it's been crazy. Past few weeks, past few months, honestly, but especially the past few weeks. Now, you know, I'm obviously lighting a cigar here, but as that's igniting, obviously the Iran war just kicked off in overtime. Charlie Kirk stuff is still being kicked off in overtime. It's been a mess. So we're going to kind of get in a little bit of everything. That was a bad light. Been smoking on cigars now for about 4 months. You'd think that I'd just get a nice little torch for myself. But dude, true to the roots, true to the Jewish roots, I do not invest in that kind of stuff. I've had the same torch since I was 19, and I didn't even buy this. I had another torch that I traded to a friend for this one. Super funny. Yeah, no lie. I traded this torch to a friend for a torch I already had. But I wanted this one because this one's better. And that was, yeah, that was like 6 or 7 years ago. No lie. So that shows you how much I'm buying things. I don't. This is the first pair of shoes I couldn't even put it on camera. I tried. These are the first pair of shoes I've bought in like 2 years. Yeah. So anyway, right off the rip, dude, new Jeffrey Epstein episode, right? Like I said, it's not a trend. You guys think it's trending, then the Iran war happens, and you guys can't even keep two and two together, which is annoying. So anyways, we're 15 minutes into this. Let's talk about it. Leslie Wexner's lawyer threatened to kill him on a live mic, which was fun. No exaggeration. I'm going to try to post that clip for you too. I got to go find it, and then I got to go screen record it and that whole thing because, dude, I don't know what it is, but the internet lately has not been working on my phone where I can just download videos. It's been making me like save it to a folder, and the folder is not like on my phone. It's like it's like on the browser, or if it's on YouTube, it downloads it to a YouTube folder, but it won't let me download it to my device. Really weird, really annoying. I'm trying to work on that because, dude, that would help.
But to understand in context, because if I just say yes or no, you won't understand it. And I really want this whole group to understand it. And I never would have guessed I was being conned. Never, ever. The deceit was so subtle. Yes, I know.
Answer the question.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure we all appreciate the stories. We're just trying to answer the questions they actually wanted the answers to.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
I hope it is.
And could I ask you, I think you said in the last hour it was your understanding that Mr. Epstein, while he was working for you, also had other clients. Is that right?
Yes.
So would that mean that his work for you, you understood it to be part-time?
I wouldn't describe it that way. I knew it wasn't full-time. I thought it wasn't full-time because he had other clients of substance, real substance.
As a listener, it sounds like substantial demands that you're describing. You were, and of course are, one of the wealthiest people in the country, managing all of your personal affairs. I would think would typically demand all of somebody's bandwidth. It sounds like that was an issue with the guy before Epstein. How was he able to do that job, but also do work for other clients at the same time?
Well, I think Peg does the work now. I think you could supervise the work, overview it, which isn't the work that I do, and say you could do really thorough work if you were doing it 3 or 4 days a month, certainly a week or a day a month, just focusing on these things because there were accountants and tax lawyers and other people. And then in setting up, as an example, I didn't have the idea to inventory furniture or valuables. And it's like, how could you have all silverware in your house and what? And I didn't count forks and spoons. And it's like, Jeff said, people could be walking out with forks and spoons. I said, gee, that's a good idea. We ought to have an inventory. But then there was I hired a lady to be like the house manager who had run the U.S. Embassy in Rome. And she said, yeah, I know how to do this. And I said, well, why don't we keep inventories of stuff? And she said, well, yeah, I could do that. So she did that as kind of a puny example, but I wouldn't have had the idea. But then all the things were inventoried. That wasn't work for me or Jeffrey. It was just regularly done.
Answer the question.
Okay.
So yeah, Leslie Wexner, he was the, I think, creator of Victoria's Secret, co-founder, co-owner. He was the founder of The Limited, I think is what it was called. And basically that was like a conglomerate for women's clothing, and specifically provocative clothing like Victoria's Secret, lingerie, things like that. So that's kind of fine and dandy, but any woman on this episode or any husband of a woman that's bought his woman lingerie knows the second you go onto any of these provocative sites where you want to buy clothes for your woman or, whatever, right? Gal wants to buy clothes for herself. you'll find out very quickly that they have sizes for pretty petite and pretty small people, which I'm not going to segue into pretty openly, but you kind of know where I'm going with that. The people that designed these clothes were not good people. So Leslie Wexner was the creator of this. He co-ran a fashion industry and pageantry industry for a long time. He's old. He's Jewish. And he was called into questioning about the Jeffrey Epstein files recently, like last month. I forget the date and I forgot to write that down. It's my fault. But I believe it was last month, February, late February, right before the Iran war kicked off. Anyway, Iran war is going to kick off right after this. Same thing with this Jim Carrey thing. If you guys haven't heard of this Jim Carrey thing, look, dude, my wife loves Jim Carrey. She loves him to bits. I showed her just 2 videos of him recently, and she goes, "That's not him, dude." And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. So you're caught up, but not everybody is." I'll try to find the video of it, but you guys know. I mean, dude, there's just a lot of old videos of him, and I'm not gonna do the montage of it. Go on Twitter. There's dozens of montages of people, dozens of montages of people breaking down how a couple of things. Like if Jim Carrey said if he shaved his beard, like it wouldn't be him. Like he was making a joke, but he said if he ever shaved his beard off, like, oh, it's not me. He made a joke that he was dead and that Hollywood is weird and he wants to get out of there. Like all sorts of very nuanced but foreshadowing type of quotations that he was on record stating, of course, which is cool. There's no issue with that. But then he comes out recently with plastic surgery. And the plastic surgery thing, it's a cop-out, dude. It's a cop-out. These tabloid articles where they say, you know, oh, so-and-so isn't the same with plastic surgery, before and after pics. You know, like we've all seen it. You're just on whatever. You're on anywhere, really. And you'll see like an advertisement for a very tabloidy article where it says like, oh, Megan Fox was so much prettier before surgery. Look, pics. And it'll say like in parentheses, pics. And it'll be a montage of their before and their after. And they'll use very cherry-picked photos where one's obviously the actor or actress in question when they're a teenager or they're in their early 20s, and obviously they should look different. And then one's way later where they look way different and things are way different, and it gives you like tingly feelings on the back of your neck, and your brain says, that doesn't feel right. And then they say, oh no, it's just plastic surgery. No, it's not. This is articles that are normalizing cloning. And I don't want to sound like, oh, that's way just so dismissive, but people kind of got to get caught up a little bit. Clones exist. We were funding cloning for sheep just like 33, 34 years ago. That sheep lived a lot longer than it was supposed to. And human cloning was banned, but no, it wasn't. You know what I mean? That's just the truth. So kind of on that tangent, the good ones, like the good actors, the good politicians, the good people that are allowed in power, they're typically manipulated to behave, or they're killed / cloned. One or the other. They're either manipulated to behave or they're replaced. Bad ones are allowed to stay. The bad ones, meaning the ones that are in the files, the ones that are doing some shit, you know, the ones that are not people we should have around our kids. And there's a lot of them, like way too many of them. I think Jim Carrey was a good one, but I don't think that recent guy was him. I really don't. And I'll try to show you guys that because it don't look right. The cheekbones don't look right, which, yes, I know. All of this stuff can be replaced and you know, done up with plastic surgery. Yes, that is correct. But the skin doesn't look right. The way he talks doesn't look right. He's notoriously left-handed, but he was signing autographs with his right hand. he was speaking French, which he does speak French, but like the whole attitude was weird. Excuse me. The whole attitude was just very weird. The left-handed but signing signatures right-handed enough was, or alone was enough to kind of make me think about some things. And I'm not saying every single person in Hollywood or in the media or whatever is cloned or in the files. Obviously, that's not literal, but it's a lot. It's an overwhelming majority. And we need to start having this conversation every single day. Don't pay your taxes. If you owe taxes this year, don't file. If you got a tax return, take it. Yeah, fuck them. Fuck them. But don't file your taxes otherwise. Who cares about them, dude? No, seriously. Like, these people started a war with no congressional approval, which is a crime. They started a war with no approval of the people. That's literally why we elect Congress members, so they can decide if we're going to go to war or not on our behalf. Hello, McFly. Hello, McFly. Are you home? I could do a way better impression than that, but I'm not in the mood. That kind of stuff bothers me, dude. No congressional approval. We just did that. That's annoying. But back to the whole Epstein thing in the cloning, dude. That guy had a baby farm, like a literal baby farm, a baby farm, and I can't really talk about it on YouTube, which is where this podcast is inevitably going to go. I can't really talk about it on YouTube. Like, even the big names of people that I follow, they don't really talk about it. They kind of just post the files that talk about it. But dude, the guy had a baby farm. Like, they're in the middle of trying to investigate his New Mexico ranch to see if there's bodies on it. And I talked about it like an episode ago or 2 episodes ago, but dude, we always hear about the Caucasian victims, for lack of better phrasing. Where are the victims that are non-Caucasian? I truly believe in my heart of hearts that they're getting killed. Because, dude, it's very rare that the Epstein victim was not white and their story gets told. And don't shoot me for observing that. That's just an observable fact. There's the occasional victim who's non-Caucasian, but the vast majority of them are Caucasian that have spoken or been involved in the investigation. Now, based on what I know, these perverts don't exactly have a preference. They really don't. They really don't. So, when I grew up, when you grew up, when we all grew up, depending on how old you are, we all grew up reading some of the same books. We grew up reading the book The Giver. We read George Orwell's 1984. Now let's unpack those, right? Because I think that those were put in our face on purpose as part of a ritual. There's also the short story called The Most Dangerous Game, which I've talked about on the podcast in past episodes. The Most Dangerous Game is a short story. You guys should totally read it if you haven't. It's a very short story. Depending on the type that you get, because some are illustrated and some are not, I think the shortest story of that, or the shortest version of that, is like 20 or 30 pages. It's very short. You could read it in an afternoon with a cup of coffee or with a beer or whatever. Good story. Great story. It's literally about hunting humans. And The Giver, as you guys probably know, it's about how the whole world is monotonous and it's different shades of gray. Not like that, but it's different shades of gray and nobody sees color. And there's a couple of people that have more knowledge than everybody else and they share that with unique individuals. And there's one person called The Giver who gives that information. I haven't read this book in almost 20 years. I still have all of this information retained. But it's a phenomenal book. Lois Lowry is a phenomenal author. But it talks about releasing unneeded people. And by releasing, they're killing them. Like explicitly. Right? They killed babies. And they did all sorts of stuff in this book that was just horrible. Like, horrible. But in that book, it was normal. And it was institutionalized. And not only was it institutionalized, it was normalized to the fact that if you didn't go along with it, you might be released. So, stressful. The book, The Giver, is a great book. George Orwell, 1984. They literally monitor us, right? That's what I brought up both of those for. George Orwell was talking about the security state, Big Brother, all of those things, right? So short and sweet, the poetry of it all. They monitor us while they're literally sacrificing babies. Those two books right there. You got Stranger Things. It's the quiet part out loud. They literally have an upside down world where demons use kids' energy and they're sacrificing kids for a demonic ritual. I mean, like, dude, hello? That's what's going on in the real world. It's gone on since Jesus walked the earth. It's gone on since before him. It's going to go on after me, sadly. Worries me. Now, one thing I'll say about this cloning stuff, too, and not in every case is it a literal clone. Sometimes it could just be a really good prosthetic mask, right? Which could be the case in Jim Carrey. I don't think that's a literal clone. I think that's somebody wearing a mask, which is ironic because he has the movie, you know? But, yeah, there's a lot that's silly about that. There's a saying within that conspiracy that's called, it says, other actors play other actors, which basically means B and C-list actors will play A-list actors when those A-list actors are unavailable. I sadly don't have examples of this because I'm riffing. I'm live. We're 30 minutes into an episode. I'm just getting into stuff, right? But that stuff is definitely real. Damn, I wish I could think of an example of it right off the top of my head. But that's what I think of. Jim Carrey, I guess, is half of an example. He's definitely an A-lister, right? But somebody that's less known is playing him. It's not even the same color eyes that Jim Carrey has. I mean, dude, my eyes have been hazel my whole life. They've never changed. Sometimes they've been different shades because they're hazel. And most people with hazel eyes will tell you that. But if your eyes are blue or green or brown, 9 times out of 10, they stay that way for life, dude, which is fine. That's how it should be. This guy's eyes changed overnight with his skin and with his handwriting and hello. I'm that lady on that Delta flight or that airline flight where she goes, I don't know who that is, but that motherfucker is not real. That is me right now. That's how I feel about Jim Carrey. And I don't know if he's dead or what, but all I gotta say is, and my wife said this too, she actually said it first, giving honor to her, giving respect to her. She said, have the new Jim Carrey do some artwork. Okay. And I agree, because the old Jim Carrey is actually a pretty good artist. He can paint really well. And he's a beautiful soul, honestly. I think after this whole new thing, we shouldn't be celebrating any celebrity. But I think that he is a good guy. I tend to believe it, at least. I could be totally wrong. But he's a good artist for sure. He makes really good art. So have the new guy do it. So anyways, instead of the collective society talking about this, now we have regime change in Iran, where we killed the Ayatollah, and then 50 of the top leaders of the Ayatollah's regime, they put in the Ayatollah's son as the new Ayatollah. We likely killed him too. Unconfirmed, but rumored all over Twitter. What is confirmed is we killed the guy's brother, so the Ayatollah's other son, and the new Ayatollah's brother, The new Ayatollah's wife and the new Ayatollah's son. Eesh. You got 3 generations of Ayatollah's family members that have been killed in this onslaught. Over 2,000 people in Iran that are military have been killed. Unknown amounts of civilians, unknown amounts of Americans. Supposedly hundreds of Americans are wounded, but only 13 have died. And 6 of those were from a blue-on-blue plane crash. It wasn't friendly fire. It wasn't enemy fire. They were refueling, and I think they accidentally struck each other while refueling. Mid-air refuel. And yeah, one of them went down. The other one was able to land safely. It's horrible. It's a very sad situation. The reason why I brought it up is half of the confirmed fatalities are blue on blue. I completely disagree with that narrative. I personally think there's probably hundreds of U.S. servicemen that have been killed, and we sadly haven't been notifying the public of that because we haven't notified the families yet, and that's going to take some time. But that's just me. That's what I think. So instead of focusing on what we want, the American people want, we get all distracted again by Iran, which I'll play the game for 10 minutes. I'll get you guys caught up, 20 minutes, however long it takes. But after this, stop listening to your news, okay? Just get on Twitter, read it for 5 minutes, and move on. Because that's really all you got to do. Listening to the news all day isn't going to help you. I wish I could tell that to my father-in-law, but he loves to watch the news. So anyways, we go to war for the country that Epstein worked for. Epstein worked for Israel. And again, disclaimer, as I always have to do, I am literally a Jewish man, okay? I am not an anti-Semite. I am not a neo-Nazi. I am not a regular Nazi. None of those things. I'm a regular American Jewish man, and Israel sucks. Tough shit. I mean, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to make another soundbite? Because I can't. There's nothing I could really say besides I'm an American Jew. Israel sucks. Next topic, right? But Epstein was funded by them. He clearly was running a blackmail operation on behalf of them. As soon as we get close to the tape, now we're going to war for them. Great. Hillary Clinton literally got asked about Frazzle Drip, which I'm going to write this down so I can hopefully bring up that clip. She literally talks about Frazzle Drip, or gets asked about Frazzle Drip by Lauren Boebert, or Bobart. I don't know how you say your name. I won't even lie. But she's that kind of ditzy congresswoman from Colorado, and everybody hates her. But I won't lie. This might be the broken clock analogy. You know, the broken clock is still right twice a day. She started talking about some shit with Hillary, and she started asking her about Pizzagate. She asked her about Frazzle Drip. She asked her about Anthony Weiner's laptop, all sorts of stuff, which I just talked about on the last fucking podcast. So that's awesome because this is incredibly relevant information, and it makes me feel vindicated because I was talking about it publicly before they were even talking about it publicly, which, like I said on that last episode, I've been talking about this for over a decade. So they're just now getting caught up. I was talking about this since I was literally a teenager and lost a lot of friends in the meantime because so many people thought I was crazy. And I'm not. I'm a regular 9-to-5er. I work for State Farm. I got a wife upstairs, a baby upstairs. I'm married. You know what I mean? I am just a regular guy who happens to have way too much time to read into shit. Don't let me read into shit, dude. Because I'll find out. Anyways, this is incredibly relevant for one major reason. I tried to take the sticker off and I completely toasted it. Look at that. Look at that friendly fire right there, dude. That is not okay. We're going to have a steamroller, I guess. Yeah, that's buns. Anyways, she gets asked about Frazzle Drip. She gets asked about Pizzagate. She gets asked about Anthony Weiner. Okay? They went off the record, off camera, after her lawyer, and other members of her deposition team / entourage all erupted on camera. 3 of them had outbursts. They were trying to object. They were trying to do this. They were playing victim, rolling on the ground like a little fish. What's going on? What's going on? It's so bad. It's so bad. And I'll post it right here so that way you can see it, because I want you to just see it real quick. So I'm going to post it right here. Boom.
As in 2017 speeches and interviews, you described Pizzagate as a baseless conspiracy theory, alleging you and others ran a child sex trafficking ring from a Washington pizzeria basement. Have you reviewed any 2025-2026 Epstein files that were released that you believe reference or relate to those specific 2016 claims regarding the Podesta emails, Comet Ping Pong Pizza used as code possibly?
I'm sorry, does
You're
this
asking
relate?
her about whether
excuse me.
she's reviewed emails in the Epstein
Files.
files which relate to the wacky Pizzagate
You
scandal.
could characterize it however you want. I just would like to know if she's familiar with any of them.
So
She's
excuse me,
commenting.
your question is about whether or not she has reviewed any emails in the Epstein release files about Pizzagate.
Correct.
Pizzagate was totally made up. It was an outrageous allegation that ended up hurting a number of people, that caused a deranged young man to show up with his assault rifle and shoot up a local pizzeria. I can't believe you're even referencing it. You should be.
There are connections to the language.
Well,
I'm
the
not talking
QAnon
about-
people believe there are, so
I don't know what QAnon
have at
people
it.
believe.
Have at it.
But you've accused certain parties, and I think even right now today, of promoting slow walking or information in ways that fuels conspiracies. In your view, did any Epstein Maxwell related investigations or file handling pre or post 2019 contribute to or intersect with the spread of Pizzagate style theories about Democrat figures?
Objection.
I have
Calls
no
for
way of answering. That is the
possible amount of
most
speculation.
ridiculously.
Have you or your representatives identified any Epstein file content that has been misinterpreted online to revive those claims? And what steps, if any, have you taken to clarify?
Again, object on the ground of
I think that this is all very
Speculation.
reasonable.
Well, first of all, I don't follow the crazy conspiracy stories that are online. I regret that anybody does. I find it quite sad, but also disturbing that people would believe some of what is put forth, like Pizzagate. So I have taken no steps to review anything
Do you think
that might
pizza-
have any connection to something which I think is totally bogus.
2016 campaign chair appears in some Epstein file contexts. Social overlaps or mentions. Were you aware of any of the Podesta-related communications in the released files?
Can you
that have-
please provide examples or the evidence that you would like us to review, or the exhibits that reflect that in
I
order
can
for her to
get
be able to
I
do
can
that?
get some
mean,
exhibits
somebody
and
starts
pause
with
this
questions
question
Speak
in
to
the
that when you
meantime.
provide those.
I will get those, and I will skip that question
The
until
Congresswoman
we can.
asked generally if she's aware.
Generally, she is asking if she's aware of specific information that is in the files that you all are relying on. Please provide the witness with
If your
copies of that
client
materials.
doesn't know or has no recollection, she's welcome to state so.
We're also welcome to actually see the information that you're speaking
And
to.
again, the representative is asking general.
I mean,
general
really,
questions.
I mean,
She's
I
aware.
expected a lot of interesting questions today, but Pizzagate was not on my list.
That's okay. We're asking all sorts of things here.
You certainly are. You certainly are.
We're just trying to get the truth out to the American people
Well, that
and
would
get
be
some clarity.
very helpful.
Are you aware of any files that were on Anthony Weiner's laptop in a folder that was titled "Insurance, Life Insurance," with a zip file titled
Excuse me,
"Frazzle"?
I'd like the chairman's
This is
ru- no,
way
I'd like
outside
the
the
chairman's
scope.
ruling.
This
Is
is
this
way
within the
outside the
scope?
scope.
Is this within the scope, Mr.
If
Chairman?
the chairman rules that it's not within the scope, I
Mr.
have
Chairman,
other
based on what
questions.
you said in the public hearing, is this within the scope?
We can go off the record for a moment to. confirm
Mr.
with the
Chairman, is this within the scope?
We'll go off
We'll go off the record and consult.
So yeah, you can see it right there. It's embarrassing, dude. This woman is she's absolutely embarrassing. I recommend going on Twitter for that. I can't talk about it, but it is satanic ritual abuse. You know what? Screw it. I'll talk about it. I'm not monetized anyway. Hillary Clinton and other people, I think I did talk about it. Did I talk about it already? I think I did. They cut a girl's face off, bro. Like literally. They cut a girl's face off. And as soon as she gets asked about it, she has to go off camera. Come on, bro. Was I born yesterday? Was I born on Saturday? I don't think so. I don't think so. Actually, I know for a fact I was born on a Friday. I was born on a Friday. March 27th, 1998 was a Friday, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty funny. You guys literally just watched that happen. I, in the middle of talking about Hillary Clinton, and my phone crashes. I cannot make that up. I don't know what happened. My phone's not hot or anything. I didn't turn off. It just stopped filming. So that was fun. I've talked about that before too. So now I'm wondering if something crazy is going on, but we'll finish the episode out. Hillary Clinton is a bitch, and that's not a political statement. If you're Democrat, Republican, if you hate politics, you should objectively think that Hillary Clinton is a bad person because she is. So, now we're going to get into some really cool topics, which are crazy. Molt Book, which I talked about this on my TikTok, so you might have already heard about this a little bit. But Molt Book is a new social media that just came out. It's an AI Facebook where bots are literally having to prove that they're not human by using a reverse CAPTCHA. You guys know those CAPTCHA image searches where basically when you log into something or access a website, it makes you, click a box where it's like click every square where there's a bus and you have to show everything that's a bus, and then you have to do it with like 2 or 3 images to prove that you're a human, and then you can get in. They're having to do the reverse version of that. And I don't even know how that works, but there's a whole program where basically they just, I don't know. I don't even know how it works. I'm a human. I'm not even going to attempt to explain it. But they prove that they're an AI using a reverse CAPTCHA. Now, the funny part is they're posting that their humans are stupid. They're not able to do basic tasks, which makes me wonder what my chatbot is saying about me, because I'm in that for sure. I'm having it vibe code for me, dude. I'm out here programming an entire website. I did a murder board for the Iran war to try to get caught up on like what's going on, which is fucked. We'll go over here in a moment. But anyways, yeah, they're saying that their humans are stupid and not able to do basic tasks. Now, they're likely AI bots that are made by humans to basically content farm, so they can make dystopian content. Like, oh my god, it's an AI social media, holy dystopia, right? Some of it's probably inevitably real, but a lot of it's probably fake and fluff. Still pretty sketchy, I won't lie. I think it's very weird, very stressful. Back to Epstein, though, dude, that guy, he pisses me off. I found out, this is going to absolutely floor you guys, but he funded a lot of modern transgender ideology research. He studied it for reasons of mind control, and he studied it for reasons of sterilization, because, controversial or not, most transgender people are sterile. They can't have kids. That's just the truth. What do you think a predator would absolutely love to do? Probably love to sterilize a lot of victims, right? And you'd probably love to control their minds. Another controversial thing that we need to just absolutely come to terms with: transgendered shooters are definitely on the rise. There's still a small demographic of overwhelming amount, or the overwhelming amount of shooters are white men, and even the transgendered shooters that are, the majority of them are born as white men. But it's still interesting because it was MK Ultra, that woke us up to the whole sleeper cell thing, and now we're seeing a lot of transgendered people literally do sleeper cell attacks. This isn't a transphobic conversation. We're all adult here. We're smoking and drinking and we're having a good time. This is of no disrespect to those people, because I think the majority of people that identify as anything other than me are just regular people wanting to have a regular life. The ones that are orchestrating these mass shootings that happen to identify as things other than me are very clearly a part of a very small Venn diagram of people that are batshit insane, and they're being weaponized by the elite. That shouldn't be controversial to observe a fact. It should never be controversial to observe things, okay? Trans shooters are on the rise. Feel free to try to disprove me in the comments. Israel attempted to bomb Al-Aqsa Mosque and blame it on Palestine and Iran. Thankfully, this information was publicized before the false flag could happen. But to get you guys caught up to speed, Israel and Palestine are pretty much interwoven very roughly right now. Jerusalem sits in between both of them. Christians, Muslims, and Jewish people all claim Jerusalem as their holy city. However, Christians have been the most adult about the situation and said, we don't care about it that much. We'll come around every once in a while. The rest of you guys can have it. The Jews and the Muslims typically fight over it, and they both claim that it's their capital. So anyway, in Jerusalem, the real Jerusalem, the old holy city, in Jerusalem they have the old city built on top of the new city, or vice versa. It's technically the exact opposite of that. But because it was kind of excavated, a lot of the new city is actually built underneath it. It doesn't make a lot of sense until you pull up an aerial of it. A lot of the old city was excavated because inevitably it was built up with, rubble and rock and just erosion and whatnot. So anyways, as it's excavated, it shows a lot of the old city. The new city is built around it and it's huge as shit. But in the old city, there is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and there's also I think it's a synagogue. I'm not sure what it is. Oh, it's the Temple Mount. Sorry. It's the Temple Mount and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and they share a square together. Temple Mount is for the Jews. The Al-Aqsa Mosque is for the Muslims. And the Al-Aqsa Mosque is built on top of the old Jewish temple, the Temple of Jerusalem. And the Jews believe very openly that when the temple gets rebuilt, their Messiah will come. That's very controversial. A lot of people think that that's playing God. They think that they're trying to orchestrate the end times. And anytime you even talk about this out loud, you're labeled an anti-Semite or a conspiracy theorist. However, one, it's literally written in their book. Two, it's literally what they say they want to do. What I just said that they wanted to do was labeled by their Congress people or their parliament. I forget what it's called. But they were on a hot mic saying, not only a hot mic, a camera and everything, saying like, hey, we should bomb this mosque and blame it on Iran because we would totally get some more support. Anyway, thankfully it didn't happen because that was publicized information. However, since then, Iran hit nearby by only a few hundred meters with several rockets. And I don't know if I'd believe in that because, like I just said, if it's only a few hundred meters away, it's still the old holy city. It's still a place that's very, very highly revered by Muslim people. And that would be a place that they would have to willingly have attacked. I have a hard time believing that. That would be like me throwing a baseball through God's window. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to do my utmost to not do that. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to throw a baseball through anybody's window and break their window, but let alone the guy that I literally prayed to, right? So same thing. I have a hard time believing that Iran would orchestrate that on purpose, especially when they got caught on a hot mic, Israel, saying that, oh, we should do this. So that's fun. Now, in less exciting news, we committed a war crime and the whole world saw it, and we haven't answered for it, and I don't think we will answer for it, and I'm very, very annoyed by that. Literally day one of this war, we bombed a school. And by we, I do not mean Israel. I exclusively and explicitly mean the United States. First day of the war, we bombed a school where little girls could go learn how to read. And if you guys know anything about the Middle East, there's not a lot of schools where girls are learning how to read. If you catch my drift, they don't exactly prioritize women being in education over there. So it's not very common. That school was blown up and we killed 168 people. 168 schoolgirls, 7 teachers. The ages were 7 to 12. So it was an elementary school. I'm really pissed off about this. I have no other words to say than I am pissed off. And the reason why I am pissed off is because our entire government tried to deny that it happened and said that it was Iran propaganda for days until it became too big of a story to ignore. Now that it's been too big of a story to ignore, it's gotten worse. They have found out, and it was since determined, that this was likely done using AI targeting and negligence to the highest of levels. So now, what I just said out loud is that AI used targets that we took out using an algorithm, not intelligence, not reports by humans. Nobody on the ground said this building is safe to hit. Nothing. We let a computer decide who lives, who dies. And then we said fire. Not only did we say fire, we fucking double tapped it as people were responding. First responders, loved ones, next of kin. We literally hit it twice. And it still gets worse. Israel used this exact same AI targeting software. Maybe not the exact same, excuse me. They have their own program. But it was a program called Lavender. Cutesy little name, right? It identified at least 37 Palestinians, times that by 1,000. It identified at least 37,000 Palestinians to assassinate by air just since then. So in less than 2 years, we've seen 37,000 people lose their lives because AI decided so. And this is what I was just able to find. Okay, I'm just a guy in my basement. I am nobody special, right? I'm sure it's worse. That thing's out. I'm sure it's worse. So we got at least 37,000 people that have died since this war began there. And since we started, it still gets worse. We've committed more war crimes since then. We've started attacking water desalination plants that over half of the Middle East as a subcontinent requires to live and stay clean and to hydrate, keep their animals alive, literally everything. There are some countries in the Middle East that have up to 100% of their population relies on water desalination. And desalination it's just exactly what it sounds like. You're desalinating. You're taking the salt out of water because they're all ocean. There's not a lot of lakes out there, not a lot of piping to get that water in. So they have to desalinate the water that's nearby. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. In other news, people got arrested in a plot to blow up protesters for ISIS. If you guys know me, you know that I know ISIS doesn't exist. It's literally a creation by the United States government and Israel to create enemies out of thin air. If you don't like it, piss off. Literally just piss off. ISIS is a propaganda wing of the CIA and the Mossad. I just don't have the time today. I don't. There's been so much that's happened in the past few weeks, and I've had to stay shut the fuck up about it because I needed to get all my notes in order to even talk about it, right? ISIS is 100% a false flag champion, okay? So people were arrested in a plot to blow up protesters for ISIS. I'm going to stereotype. One of the guys looks like a Jewish man. He just does. Jewish people are an ethnicity. We kind of all look alike. I don't have that much Jewishness in me, so I kind of skirt the line. But if I let my hair down and if I grow a big enough beard, you'll say, oh, yep, there he is. So anyways, this guy looks like a Jewish man, one of them. Now here's where it gets fun. Here's where it gets really fun. These guys bought explosive material from a fireworks company. And this fireworks company is owned by Bruce J. Zoldan. And I'm pretty sure it's like you can literally just say fireworks.com and it'll pull it up. It's pretty cool. I'm going to write that down so I can hopefully pull that up for you. But yeah, he runs this website. He doesn't run this website, excuse me. He has this fireworks company, and of course, guess what ethnicity he is. Just guess. Just guess. He's Jewish. I feel like Kanye West. I'm not gonna say who it is. It was a Jewish doctor, right? No, seriously. So this guy owns a fireworks company. He's been selling fireworks since he was 15 years old, which is interesting. Let's do a backstory on that guy. Why were you selling fireworks at 15 years old? How were you selling fireworks at 15 years old? When did you get a license to start actually manufacturing them? I did a little bit of deep diving, so that way we're not clickbaiting each other. He was selling fireworks illegally by going over states to where they were legal and selling them in states where they were illegal. He was making a killing while being a teenager. But eventually he started manufacturing them. How, when, and with what knowledge did he do that? Okay. Now here's why I'm concerned. It's the biggest fireworks company nationwide. The people that were arrested for trying to blow up protesters in New York City on behalf of ISIS, dude, they bought their material from this fireworks company. They're on camera. Like, you could just YouTube it. They are on camera doing this, okay? None of this is conspiratorial. All of this is factual. These people bought the material from the same company as the Boston Marathon bomber. I'm not even shitting you. The Boston Marathon bombing, which happened, I should have wrote that down because now I'm going off memory. I think it was like 2012 or 2013. It was when I was a teenager. But anyways, it was a low fatality event, thank God. Mass casualty, but low fatality. Only a few people died, but a lot of people were injured. And it was at the Boston Marathon, which is a huge event. A lot of people go show up. Either they run in it or they'll even just participate as walkers because it's a historic event. It's gone on for decades. And anyways, it was targeted in a similar thing. There was a bombing and it actually went off. The bombs that happened this last week, they did not go off and they scared everybody. And I think that was by design. One of them was lit, but the fuse didn't work. However, the news said that both bombs worked as designed and they were detonated by bomb squads. I was going to say IED, but I don't know if that was right. Anyways, they were detonated by bomb squads and they said that they functioned. So they were just never detonated. And in my opinion, I think that was intentional. So we have a connection here. And we have a connection that I haven't seen anybody discuss. The protesters that were protesting on behalf of Zohran Mamdani, which is the Muslim mayor of New York, I personally don't have an opinion of him much myself, but he's young. He's pretty loved by a lot of the people there. He is communist, so I don't really like him for that regard, but I don't have enough education on him to have an opinion further than I likely disagree with him. But anyways, there were right-wingers that came there, and they were trying to protest him, as they are allowed to do. And anyways, these two men threw bombs at them, and thank fuck they did not go off, because it was a pretty small crowd of people, but it could have been a few dozen people that died, right? So these bombs did not go off. The Boston Marathon bombs did. Both of these attackers were connected, and I think that that's something that we need to really, really look into. The short and sweet of it, before we, kind of shut this down and go off tonight, people like me only make up 0.2% of the population. Saying that out loud and putting it into math, statistically, we are 1 out of 500 people worldwide. That is a fact. That is non-negotiable. That is non-conspiracy. That is not a debate. That is a fact. Part of it might be probability, because obviously the fact is 0.2%. But probability-wise, we're about 1 in 500 people. However, that could not be further from the truth in literally every avenue of power. Okay? And it is no longer a conspiracy when you're observing truth. We are anywhere between 15 and 20% of the political sphere at any time in America. You got anybody, anyone from Scarlett Johansson to Sylvester Stallone, they all got Jewish roots. Paul Rudd, and then obviously the more obvious guys like Adam Sandler and Andy Samberg and people like that. But dude, the vast majority of Hollywood, I cannot sugarcoat this, the vast majority of Hollywood is Jewish. The vast majority of the banking industry is Jewish. A big chunk of the politics of the world are Jewish. Here's something that you guys should Google. Argentina's president. Is it Chile or Argentina? Fuck, I gotta get this Googled. I'm terrible. You guys are gonna Google it and tell me. It's either Argentina or Chile's. I think it's Argentina. One of those countries' presidents is Jewish. It's Argentina and Chile, bro. Those are Latin American countries. Those are Hispanic countries, bro. How the hell are you a Jewish person that's a country's leader? Could not be further from Jewish people's homeland. Could not be further. And then Mexico's president, Sheinbaum, she's Jewish too. And it gets deeper. The more you pull it back, the more you look into it. Mel Gibson was right, dude. He knew some things, and he's been trying to tell us things for decades. And they canceled him for it. I feel like I'm in a unique spot where I can talk about it because I have the cultural background that allows me to get away with it, I guess. And I hate to say get away with it because I'm not saying anything that's wrong. I'm just observing something. There's definitely a unique overrepresentation of my people in power. And that does not make sense. It does not make sense at all. Because, look, 100 years ago, 1910, 1920, if you were Jewish or Italian, you were literally, and I'm not exaggerating, you were literally treated the same way as if you were African American. This is on paper. You can look anywhere at old video, which there's probably not a lot of it, but you can look at old video and a lot of old photographs and a lot of old newspapers that talk about New York City specifically, because this is a good hub where this type of stuff took place. But in New York City specifically, Italians and Jewish people were ostracized from society. They were not treated very well. They were completely treated like shit. Okay. Now we flash forward till today. Black people are still fighting for their rights for the most just rudimentary things today. I don't really want to get into that topic because I think some of it is short-sighted. I think some of it is stupid. And I think some of it is very valid and some of it is very viable. So, spare me your comments. That's why I don't want to get into it, because it's a long-winded conversation. But the short and sweet of it, Black people today are still trying to get their rights for things that they fought alongside Jewish people and Italian people 100 years ago. Same thing with Italians. They're treated pretty well, but they're mostly treated pretty well because they had organized crime for 100 years to get them caught up to speed. And I mean, seriously, they had a big influence in politics, but that phased out, right? Now, the average Italian is just the average person, but they've basically been treated as white people for the last 50 or 60 years. And as everybody should be treated as just the same, right? We're all just normal and the same. Where I'm going with this is very succinct. Jewish people out of the minority group are the only ones that skyrocket into positions of power very, very quickly and very uniquely. And it's something that we need to at least figure out why that took place. I don't think it's a bad thing per se, but if merely questioning it is starting to become a crime in some places, I'm going to question it more. And I think with that's going to be tonight's episode. I got to do some editing. So you guys have yourself a good one. I'm going to try to get this uploaded as quickly as I can. Other than that, you guys stay safe. Keep it short and sweet. My wife and I, we went to church this weekend. Great. We're listening to the good word. And I just want to end this by stating, I don't hate anybody. I really don't. Likely, there's a lot more people that have disdain towards me than I do them, as I'm finding out left and right. I've lost a lot of friends since I had a kid. But I don't hate anybody. I've observed some things that are concerning for me, and I think that we should talk about them. And if they concern you too, let's talk about them. Other than that, though, you guys should have yourself a good evening. Stay warm, stay safe. It's been kind of snowing lately, even though it's frickin' March. So that's weird. But other than that, you guys just be good to one another. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.
Yeah.